Hi, welcome along to today's vlog. I have a wonderful new Sios mouthpiece for my alto saxophone and one for my soprano as well. White and blue and then red on the tenor. Very patriotic. Or just very French. Very patriotic for the French. Of course we should be as saxophone players. I mean, we owe our instrument effectively. I know it was made by a Belgian, well, invented by a Belgian I should say, but all the major developments took place in Paris. Anyway, trying out again this Hooki kind of question mark neck strap. I got this a few weeks ago, you may have seen it in a vlog there. I'm very, very particular about, let me put this alto down, about my neck straps, mainly because of all the difficulties that I've had over the years. I mentioned a lot here, but it's worth an update. I've been playing on the Kabula for a number of years because that, in a way, has saved my career. But it's interesting to try this. It kind of like feels a bit, put the teeth back in now. It feels a little bit like the Jazz Lab sax holder, but this is kind of a little bit different. You see, it's just kind of like, it's like a long piece of metal or carbon, I don't know. Feels like metal, to be honest. And it just hooks over like that. It's called the Hooki, and it's very, very, very comfortable. Clips onto the instrument like that, but I guess I'm going to just kind of walk around a little bit. And a lot of you moan that I don't play enough alto. So I'm going to do a bit of alto. So in terms of getting it on and off, I think this is kind of one of the great things about this. I mean, it just literally, ow, no, maybe not. There we go. It's on like that. It kind of sits, as I've said before, on the back of your neck like that. It's definitely super comfy to wear. Marcus, who sent this to me from Hooki, said it might not quite be the ideal shape for me. It might need to be a little bit bigger, but for alto it felt absolutely fantastic. I haven't tried it on tenor. It certainly beats this thing that I was used to have to play to kind of keep the thing off my neck. It's a lot less you know, intrusive with that. Definitely a great way round. I like the way it rests sort of on your chest bone here rather than sort of further down. It's not putting a lot of pressure into my chest, which is what kind of a weakness I find with the sax holder, is that it kind of pushes on there a little bit onto people's chests and around the tummy muscles, which is not really where you want things to be doing. But this, great, definitely solves the problem of having it on your neck. It doesn't suffer from the Wonder Sax complications that other ones have done. This does move a little bit up and down if you needed it to. I guess maybe it shouldn't. Oh, this adjusts. Oh, fantastic. So, Hooki, Marcus, guys, and in Germany this was from. Excellent idea, really, really like it. I guess my only negative would be it won't go in my BAM case. This is the kind of difficulty you would have with it. It won't go into a standard saxophone case. You'd have to take it in a gig bag or so, which I always take a gig bag anyway with my saxophone stands. Well, 9 times out of 10 I do, but that would be a downside for me if I couldn't get it in my case. Guys at Hooki, well done. Thank you very much for sending me this. I hope to get more use out of it over the next few months. It's been a while, but it's time for a Q&A vlog. Roll intro. Asked me just to finish a serious session myself, 3 hours plus. Well done, Rick. Excellent, well done. He says, are you familiar with the Rampone Kazani? I found one in a pawn shop. It needs major work. They're asking over 1,500. I tried playing it. It barely made sounds, and it's over 50 years old. It's interesting, and I want to tie this in also with another question from Aidan's Trip Reports and More. He says, what soprano would you recommend for someone looking for one on a budget and looking to try it out? I've looked at the Sakusi from sax.co.uk's beginner's brand. Now, 2 things I'm going to say about this one. Whatever I do on this channel in terms of reviews, if I review it and I'm positive, that means that I'm happy to buy it myself. If I've reviewed it and I don't like it, it means I'm not happy to buy it myself. If I haven't reviewed it, it's likely I'm not willing to recommend it, and I don't like recommending things blind. So the answer to these two questions kind of juxtaposed from a kind of beginner brand new saxophone to a vintage old one. For Rick's answer, I've heard of Rampo and Kazani. I've never really played many of them, but if it's going to need a lot of work, you've got a kind of budget. I would suggest in the UK, £500 worth of money. You know, you're looking at, what's that, $600-700. Is it worth that to pay half the price over again? Probably not. It isn't it's not going to be able to have a resale value. If it was a Selmer Mark 6 or maybe a Con, something else like that, that would kind of maybe fetch some resale and would actually sound really, really good, then maybe take a punt. But to be honest, for that kind of money, yeah, I'd save it and buy something that's definitely going to be worth that. Likewise, with the question about the soprano, I can't recommend any cheap sopranos because I don't think they're any good. Hand on heart, I just wouldn't recommend them. I would suggest if you've got a budget of £500 for a soprano, you start saving up until you've got a budget of £1,000 for a soprano. That way you can easily pick up second-hand a good Yamaha, a good Yanagisawa, second-hand soprano, certainly in the kind of 901 range, even 991. I sold my 991 soprano, admittedly 8-9 years ago, for about £1,100-1,200, and that's a really, really, really fantastic soprano for something that's retailing at £2,000-3,000 brand new. Soprano, there is so much. It's kind of, everything is kind of the tiniest little mistake on it, or the tiniest, you know, kind of if something goes wrong on a soprano, you really notice it. There's so much in there that's got to be right, and that's, for me, why I believe Yanagisawa make the best sopranos, because their engineering across their saxophone models, I think, is the best. You know, and that's what makes the difference, especially on a soprano. You've got to go for that. Speaking of sopranos, Carl Nurmi says the 992 sounds a little meatier than the SW020, which sounds smooth. Meaty is hard to do on a tiny horn. I've got to stop playing these vegan restaurants. JJ says, brighter. Funny how we hear and describe things differently. To me, the T-Von model sounded much darker with less sizzle on a deep core. I have one and I would say it's much darker than a Rezo chamber or slant soloist. But again, and yes, JJ, you're right in a way, it's very subjective. Check out the articles on the Sios website. I'm talking to Sios now. I'm going to be visiting Paris and visiting their factory in June, I hope. But you know, it's amazing. It's so subjective, dark and light, kind of how you feel it. I was comparing that T-Von Pennicott to my own Sios mouthpiece, which I think is darker. I felt the T-Von one has had a little bit more edge to the sound. It's a great mouthpiece. I certainly wouldn't complain, but mine is just a bit closer to how I want it. Luan says, thank you for the comparison, Dan. I've been wondering about the differences. Personally, I like the sound on the 992 better, but like you said, maybe it's because you're so comfortable with it. It was weird when I closed my eyes, the W02 sounded sort of like a clarinet, which I didn't like. I like a soprano sax to sound like a soprano. Yeah, the problem is I like my soprano saxophone to sound a bit more like a clarinet. So maybe I need to go for the W020. And Luan also said, you know, it's helpful to play pieces. Luan and everybody else, I know a few of you said this when I'm doing comparisons. I understand that, but I'm a jazzer. I'm kind of making things up as I go along. If I could possibly try and remember what I just played 5 minutes ago, it would be very much an effort. I'm trying to play in that moment. Even when I'm improvising for you guys, I might just kick off the head the same way around. But 9 times out of 10, if I'm improvising, I don't want to be playing exactly the same way because it's not the same moment anymore. It's a different thing. And finally, Steve Lomas. I hope you're not the Steve Lomas who used to play for West Ham. Maybe you are. And City, so maybe not. He said, Dan, what's your opinion of Scott Hamilton, the American tenor saxophone player? I've not heard enough of him, but what I have heard, I really like. I think he's a great player. We're going to talk a little bit. I nearly did a vlog today on 100 standards. One of the things I've been doing with my students recently is I've got this list of 100 jazz standards and we're going through it, especially those who are off to music college next year. And we're going through it in random order, kind of which standards do they know? Can they write the chord progressions out for those standards? Can they play that standard in a different, a weirder key, especially some of the more common standards that you end up having to play with singers? Not necessarily because standards are something you want to play all the time, but standards are just, they're a great way to understand where you're at. They're great songs and they're part of our history. They're part of the lineage of jazz music that if you want to be a jazz musician, you've got to be able to play. And I think Scott Hamilton could really play that. Now, while Katie and the kids are away, one of the things I wanted to do, which I haven't actually done at home for weeks now, is take the drone out tonight. But the thing is, around Cambridgeshire, it's very, very flat. There aren't too many places I haven't flown the drone view already. And trying to think of new places to go is often quite difficult. So tonight, I want to go out and get some new drone footage for you, particularly of the sunset. Now, this morning, that was looking a really good idea because it was a really bright day. It looked really lovely. I've been teaching all day, and now look at the weather. Admittedly, not the end of the world if it's broken cloud. If that cloud breaks up a little bit, we'll get something. One of the things I'm going to do though is go back to an old-fashioned map, an ordnance survey map. It's not that old a map. I bought it relatively recently, but I've noticed when I use Google Maps, I don't look for things in the same way. Google Maps doesn't have the kind of all the details on that you used to get with the old ordnance survey maps. So I'm going to try and find a new place. Admittedly, quite difficult around here because there ain't many places to fly. There certainly ain't any hills to fly near or anything else like that. Any interesting scenery like there was with my last vlog that I actually flew the drone in here. So it's kind of, it's like more than 6 weeks since I've taken the drone out. So I can see this old fort here, sort of outside Saffron Walden near Littlebury. And it's on the train route where there's the tunnels, so I'm gonna maybe give that a shot. I've not been there before, obviously been through it on the train, so I wonder if that might be interesting. There's also, looks a little bit hillier, not there's not many hills around here, but I think that might be where I'm going.
And it felt like a good template for this episode. Good point. One of the reasons why I love this episode, and she has a shorthand with the people at the front desk.
So I'm here, it's not a bad view. Sadly the clouds have not broken, but I think I could get the drone up and see what I get for you. But I'll use this point to say thank you very much for watching. Make sure you tune in on Monday for a new vlog. If you're in London, I'll be in London on Sunday night and Monday night, so make sure you come and see us at one or both of those gigs, 2 different type of gigs. And if not, I'll see you well, Monday, Tuesday when I get Monday's vlog edited. Thank you very much for watching. Enjoy the drone.